technology is so interesting and so fun, isn't it? I'm going to put this on and hopefully you'll be able to hear me. And yes. Okay. Well, welcome to my live. So glad you're here. If you're a woman in your 40s, 50s, or beyond, and who's ever felt like you're holding everything together and holding up everyone else in your life, but not your own life personally, then this video is for you today. This live is for you. So I'm Melissa K. Range, Igniter of Change. Glad to be here and wanted to do this on my computer again. But I'm going to talk about something raw and real today and what it's like to care for aging parents, especially if you're working, you are raising children, you are trying to stay afloat financially, and you're somewhere in there trying to care for yourself too. And because I'm a mentor and because I've worked with a lot of men and women over the years, especially for women, one of the things that I've noticed is we seem to do everything for everyone else and we don't take care of ourselves first. And one of the things that actually I learned over the years was if I didn't put the oxygen mask on myself, then what ended up happening was everything else fell apart. Everybody else fell apart. So put a heart in the chat if you're currently caring for aging parents or have cared for your parents, or if you're starting to begin to care for your parents. Because as I've noticed and studied for the last many years, there's lots and lots, and of course the baby boomers are coming up on their aging in their life, that there's lots and lots of us women caring for our elderly parents at the same time while we're doing everything else. And let me tell you a little bit about my story. Maybe you can relate. So about 7 years ago, I guess it was, my mother got cancer. And my mother got very sick. Right off the bat, we found out she had lung cancer, and then we found out she had brain cancer. And so we knew she was it was a serious situation. My mom was she might have been 80, 81 years old. And what ended up happening was my one sister lives out of town and my other sister lives here, but she was working full time. And I was the one then responsible for starting to take care of my parents. And so if you've been in this space before where you're caring for your elderly parents, please let me know in the chat. Put a heart emoji if you're somebody that's right now caring for your aging parents. Because this is a big job that many, many people have to do in their lifetime. And I know some cultures actually, they end up bringing their parents into their home or they go and live with their parents. And that's something that, is part of their culture. But in America, where I live, my day is going great. In America, where I live, there are not a lot of people who bring their parents into their home. So I started to caregive my parents on top of working, on top of taking care of my children, and on top of mentoring people and doing what I was doing was Akashic record readings. Hello. And so I was a very, very busy person. And so what ended up happening was I started to notice that I really wasn't taking care of me. I wasn't taking care of me as well because I was taking care of everyone else. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you. But I finally made a decision that I needed, because I was in charge of everything, I needed to take care of myself. And so what did that look like? Because I was becoming overwhelmed with all of the responsibility. And maybe some of you can relate. Okay. Oh dear. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yes. And my uncle had Alzheimer's really bad as well. And taking care of elderly people can be very stressful. It can be very overwhelming. But what I've learned again from taking care of me is that if I put the oxygen mask on myself first, then everything else will be okay. I may need breaks. I may have to go do something like go get a massage or go exercise or do something. But, oh yes, your granny doesn't want him to take him to, oh, I know that is so hard. And my parents actually were in independent living. So my parents were in independent living, but they were incapacitated to do everything by themselves. And this is where I came in. But what I learned was, and maybe you've been thrown, let me know if you've been thrown into a role that you didn't feel ready for, but you had no choice and you had to rise to the occasion because there was no other choice. What did it look like for you? What did you have to do? Let me know in the comments what you had to do, because I had to kind of rework my schedule. And lucky for me, I had a very flexible schedule with my clients and I could work them in the day, in the night, when my children were at their father's house. So I was able to make a schedule that worked for me. And that really was helpful. But I know a lot of people cannot do that. But that was something that was very, very beneficial. Oh, great. So, hello. Yes, that is true. That is true. Yes. And our parents do need attention because when we were little, of course, they took care of us. So, one of the things that I know that I struggled with, of course, was that I was doing all of this stuff and I was going to be the one that really had to pay attention to me because nobody else was going to take care of me. And we forget that because I was juggling their doctor's appointments, I was doing all their grocery shopping, I was doing I was, in charge of their estate because they were getting to that space where my mom, especially, she didn't even know how to do a lot of financial things for the bank accounts, for the things like that. And even being that end of life person for people can be very heavy, where you have to make the decisions about their health. And we had to do that too. We had to make the decision when my father actually ended up going into, let's call a sort of semi coma because he got COVID and he went downhill very fast. We had to make the decision if we were going to keep him on life support or not, even though, for how many days, because he knew that he didn't want to be on a respirator for the rest of his life. So these are heavy things that we're dealing with. They're heavy things. And if I hadn't been in a state of calm and taking care of myself, I would have been a wreck. I would have been a disaster. And so making sure that we're always taking care of ourselves first, and I can't reiterate that enough, is the number one thing that we have to do. I mean, how many times do we get caught up in the drama, in the emotion, in the chaos, in the calamity, and then we can't get our head right to make a educated, confident, calm decision? Let me know in the chat if you've been in that space before, or you are feeling guilty because you don't know how to keep up with all of the responsibility that you think that you need to do. Terrible things that happen in your life make you a better person. Yes, for sure. It's all in your perception. It's all in our perception. Okay, so let's say this too, because I went through a phase where I was saying to myself, well, gosh, I'm taking care of everybody else. Who's taking care of Melissa? And I've said that to myself before, but what I realized was that I had to take responsibility for that. And if you are somebody that feels depleted or you feel as though your energy is constantly being pulled, how are you taking care of you? Some meditation for me, I'm going to give you some examples. Meditation and walking in nature is something that I do constantly. And I go every morning and I run in the lazy river. And I even did that when my parents were ill. And at one point, I knew that I could not keep up with everything. And I told my parents, I said, you have to, oh, I'm screaming at the phone. Okay, let me turn my volume down a little. Okay, well, now you can't even hear me at all. Okay, hopefully I'm not so loud anymore. Maybe I'll put my microphone down here. How's that? Is that better? Okay, but I knew that we needed to get an extra caregiver. And so I decided that my parents were going to have to hire somebody else. And so they did. Let's see here. Let's do this. And so they did. They ended up hiring other people to help them out. Okay, good, good. So glad. So glad that it's helping out. Oh, get out, Erwin. That's funny. Okay, maybe you guys know each other. And so they ended up hiring another caregiver, and that caregiver didn't work out for very long. And then they ended up hiring another caregiver on top of me, and that didn't work out very well for a while. It worked out for a little while. And finally, we found a couple of really amazing caregivers who actually helped until they passed away. And so I actually got some help. So, have you ever been in a situation like this? Because what I discovered about my life is it taught me a very great lesson about how important it is to take care of my parents, but also how important it is to take care of me. And I don't think a lot of us realize the value of taking care of ourselves, whatever it looks like, whether it is taking care of aging parents, whether it is we have other issues going on in our life and we don't know how to make, like I said before, confident, concise, rational decisions and do things from a perspective of from our heart instead of from our crazy mind. And so some of the benefits also that I learned about this was financial information. How am I going to move forward financially after taking care of my parents? Because there were times where I was letting things in my own life go on the back burner. And how many times do we do this where we put things in our financial or our mental or our physical? Like, are you still taking care of your body? Are you eating healthy foods? Are you drinking enough water while you're taking care of other people? Are you making sure to rest? Are you making sure? And I'm a very holistic person, so I have loads of ways that I take care of myself. I drink Kangen water. I take supplements. I earth. I go grounding myself. I have a hydrogen machine. I know Qigong. I know block therapy. I mean, I could tell you so many ways over the years that I have actually taken care of my body physically and mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially, because that's how I mentor my clients. But let me ask you a couple questions. What's one way you've surprised yourself when it came to making big decisions or having to do something like caregive your elderly parents? Or let's say you have a child that has some sort of disability, or you've got a sibling that needs extra help, or you've got a friend, a very good friend who has cancer or something like that. And we all know that these types of things can be very, very heavy and they're very taxing and depleting of our energy. And so, where is it in your life that you've gotten clarity on taking care of you? Where is that? Because so many of us will completely disregard ourselves. And so, if you've done that, have you found new strength or clarity in this caregiving of yourself? Because that's what I learned. That was one of the lessons that I learned. Not the only one, but one of them. Okay, so let's keep going. I've got some notes here that I have taken about this. Let's see. Oh, and I know what else. Maybe you've got a person that you talk to about your stuff that you're having to take care of in your life. Maybe you've got a therapist. Maybe you've got a counselor. Maybe you've got a friend. Maybe you've got a mentor. Who in your life supports you when you're going through the tough stuff? Who in your life supports you? Do you have somebody like that actually will listen to you and allow you to maybe vent for a little while until you can get to that space where you're like, okay, I vented. Now I feel better. Oh my gosh, that felt so good. But then you're going to have to change your perspective. Then you're going to have to move forward. You can't stay in the muck and the mire and the junk forever. But you do have an opportunity to share that with someone else. And then how are you going to shift that perception? What are you going to change in order to feel better? Because that's what I learned. I had to, and I have a group that I go to, I have a community that I use to go and express my feelings, get it off my chest. Maybe it's complaining for a few minutes, and then it's time to move on. It's time to get in a different, I want to say mindset, but let's use a different word, a different perception. So, here are some things that I want to give you, like some more tools that helped me while I was going through this with my parents. I started learning a lot of financial stuff because I had to know the ins and outs of all of my parents' information around their finances. And it was overwhelming, but I figured it out. I also created a caregiving circle of people to actually help them. It wasn't just me, it was other people as well. When I got overwhelmed, I could just call in one of the other caregivers. And I also honored my grief. As my mother was going through this cancer, I had to talk about my grief. Do you talk about your grief? Because it's we're going through grief when we are noticing someone in our life getting ill or feeling terrible and suffering. That can be very grief filled. And I would go home some nights and just cry. And crying is really good for us. So do a lot of crying if you need to cry. And then the other part was you're becoming more of the person you're meant to be when you start noticing and becoming aware of what is going on with you. So that's very important. Become aware of what's going on with you. So which one of these, what did I say that landed with you today? Or do you have something of your own, like your own tip that you could add to this discussion to talk about what you've done to help yourself in this kind of situation? Because we can learn from each other. All right. So I call this reclaiming a part of my fire. And I'm all about fire. I am a fire girl. I am in my element with fire. I love fire. I'm a fire walk instructor. I teach about the fire. I love bonfires. I'm a pyromaniac. Yeah. So all of my work centers around finding your fire. And it's about finding your authentic voice. It's about owning who you are, reclaiming your power. It's about listening to your intuition and to lead your life on purpose and to rise in this instance from exhaustion and from what I like to call depletion, to rise to the occasion of taking care of my parents and being that mother still and being that friend and that mentor still through all of it. And the only way I could have done that is if I had risen to the occasion. And that started with making myself a priority. And so all of the work that I do is around finding your fire. And that means remembering who you really are, remembering your inherent power, listening to that inner compass, listening to that inner compass, and then taking action on what you know is best for you. And sometimes we need information, suggestions. I don't like to call it advice because I don't give advice to people. I offer suggestions, but I know people are looking sometimes for answers. And what I always do is point people back to their own heart, to their own intuition, to their own inner knowing. And that is really what I do with my work. And I created this program for women. It's called Find Your Fire. And it's a self-paced program where people can take this over the course of a few weeks to really remember their inherent power. You guys must like know each other on here. This is funny, or else you're just, talking amongst yourself. This is really hilarious. But I created this program because I saw and I worked with so many women who didn't know how to step into what they wanted in their lives. And I found yesterday, I'm going to tell you yesterday, my friend is texting me. Yesterday I did a presentation and it's called From Frozen in Fear to Fired Up with Confidence. And let's see. Let's do this. I'm going to do this. Okay, cool. And see if I can do this. Let's see. I don't know if I can. I'm going to try to figure this stuff out. Okay, we'll see. I don't know. We'll see. I'm learning a lot about I'm learning a lot about this. This is interesting. And so, okay, well, you all are having fun in the comments here, but now I lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. I did this presentation yesterday and it's called From Frozen in Fear to Fired Up with Confidence. And you're welcome. You're welcome. And it was all about how we want to chase our dreams and desires because that's what we are. We're creators and we're meant to be chasing our dreams and desires and creating our life from a place of passion and a place of our heart. And so, well, you know what? I hear what you're saying, but I don't give advice. I actually ask you to tune into your inner knowing and actually listen to yourself because you have a inner compass or GPS that you can use to go after whatever it is, your dreams, your desires, those goals you have in your life. I mean, we are created that way. If we're at point A, and we need to go to point B, well, you got to write it down. You got to get clear, specific, vivid in your goal. And then what you have to do is you have to watch for the signs and you have to watch for the information to come in and you have to learn how to discern what is best for you and how to put one foot in front of the other to go after what it is that you want. And today, as I'm talking about this, I didn't know I would have to caregive my parents until their dying breath. I didn't know. And if you've had to do it, it's a big job. It's a huge job. But I would never, ever take 1 minute back from what I did because it taught me so much about myself. And if you've heard of this thing called karma, karma is something that we're all here to work through and to change so that we don't have to keep coming back over and over and over, learning the same lesson. And so, what I teach everybody when I do my work is that if you want to clear your karma, you're going to have to learn to identify why these relationships show up in your life and how to make them right. And I don't mean right like correct. I mean how to make yourself in alignment and how to be in that relationship where people don't bug you or don't drive you crazy or don't pull on your what is the word I'm looking for? Where people don't know how to trigger you. That is one of the lessons. And so, if you have elderly parents or you're caregiving your parents and things that they're doing are triggering you, then you have some stuff to clean up within you. But what about when you put in a good effort and be good and life still hammers you? Well, in that instance, I think you have to start really looking hard at yourself. Really trying to understand what is going on in life that is causing you those feelings of suffering because we all have choice. Have you ever read the book? It's called Choice is Your Greatest Power. It's a really small book. Actually, I have it on my bookshelf, but you always have a choice about how you actually perceive something. And you can go through life. And I just read this. This is by a famous psychologist from, oh my gosh, like 100 years ago. And I'm blanking. I want to say it's William James. It's William James. If you go and you go, when we're born in the world is the way it is. And we can choose to live in it with joy and love and peace and calm. Or we can look at the world from those negative, we can look at it, we can put our glasses on and we can look at the world from like rose colored glasses, or we can look at the world from foggy, disgusting, gross glasses. We get a choice. We get a choice. And so every day when you wake up, you get a choice. And what do you listen to? Who do you surround yourself with? Do you surround yourself with really high vibe people, people who are really uplifting and supportive, and they celebrate you, and they're always like there to give you a nugget of wisdom? Or do you hang around people who are negative Nellies, who just want to bring everybody else down into their misery? Because I've been around those people too. And you know how long they last in my life? A New York minute. But it took me a long time. Thank you. It took me a long, long time for me to learn this. And I had a lot of living examples. I had a lot of people come into my life. And what I've learned is now my frequency is so high and my vibration is so high that if negative people come into my life, I can notice them, I can feel them now, and they won't be in my life very long. Or if they are in my life a little bit longer, I need to learn something from them. Have you ever heard this? You spot it, you got it. Or have you ever heard this? When you point the finger at somebody else, there's three fingers pointing back at you. And so back to my story. I want to go back to my story. I got the greatest, most amazing, amazing gift taking care of my elderly parents. And I had stuff to clean up with them. They would trigger me, and they were not as healed as I was in my journey. And so I needed to do some work because they were going to leave. Thank you. They were going to leave this earth, and I did not want any karma to be in the realm of space between my parents and I. I wanted to clean up all that karma so that I never have to come back here again. I keep saying to people, I'm cleaning up all my stuff. If I've harmed you, if I've done anything, I'm making amends. I'm making amends because I don't want to come back to the earth plane. I will coach and mentor people from the other side, from when I transition into spiritual beingness, but I definitely don't want to come back to this physical realm because I want to learn all my lessons now so that I don't have to be in the physical. The physical is great, but it's temporary, as we know. And what I've learned in all my spiritual studies over the last 16 years is that we return over and over and over again because we need to learn stuff. And I needed to learn stuff from my parents. And guess what? They needed to learn stuff from me. They needed to learn stuff about themselves. Now, I don't know if they learned everything they needed to learn. And on top of that, they didn't do a lot of the digging within. I'm challenging you people today. Dig within. Dig within yourself. I don't know either, but I dig into myself all the time. And I take a personal inventory every day. Who did I interact with? How did I interact with them? Could I have done better in how I spoke to that person? I am very, very aware of my behavior and of who I am and how I radiate when I go out into the world. Oh, okay. Forget Earth. When you die, you're going to explore space. Okay, great. Great. I'm happy for you because I am going to be, living somewhere. I don't know where. I say a lot of times I'm going to be living in the fairy lands because I think I have fairy energy, but I am definitely going to be sprinkling my wonderful, what do you call it? Fairy dust, like over everybody, because I know we all have our challenges here, and it can be very, very hard sometimes to be here and to be living on this earth plane. But we get to choose. We get to choose. We get to choose if we're going to have a good day or we're going to have a crappy day. And you can change your mind at any moment during the day. If you're having a crappy day and all of the bad stuff that you can think of is happening to you, well, you have a wonderful thing called your perception. And you can change your mind at any moment. And you can be a different person. And you can start saying, I wonder why this happened for me. I wonder why this happened for me. Not to me, you all. To me makes you a victim. And when you go through life as a victim, your life can look pretty darn yuck. And so I'm going to go back to my story because I'm going to end soon. I wanted to talk to you about my program. My program is specifically designed for women. It's called Find Your Fire. It's a self-paced program. You can start it at any time. And I wanted to do this create this program because I didn't want women to feel like they were alone. And I've mentored a lot of men and women over the years. But for me and what I've been through as a woman, I can definitely I can definitely see a lot of other women who've experienced what I've experienced. And so, needless to say, I wanted to create this program so I could help women. And it's an evergreen program. It's self study. Do it at your own pace because the women that I've walked through it before have really gone after their dreams and desires. And so, no, I don't have any program for men. I only have mentored men. I've mentored a lot of men over the years. And what they were looking for, I will tell you, a lot of them, what they were looking for was they were looking for what's called the feminine energy balance. Now, I will teach you something here for a moment. Every person has male energy and female energy. Okay, we all have it. Now, of course, I'm a woman, so I'm going to exude more of my feminine energy, and I live most of the time now in my feminine energy. But years ago, I lived more in my masculine energy. And what I mean by that was each energy holds different types of what they are. So the feminine energy is nurturing, it's compassionate, it builds community, there is a sensitivity about it. The masculine energy is more logical, more goal oriented, more do. Masculine energy compartmentalizes things. Feminine energy is more aware, more feeling. So before, when I was married, and when I was working in corporate America, I was really in my masculine energy. But when I got out of my marriage, I say, all the way to the other side, to the feminine energy. And I was really out of my masculine energy. And it took me years to come into the middle, into balanced energy. So the men that I mentored, they were very masculine men. They're out there making a lot of money. They got the man thing down, but they couldn't figure out how to be in the flow of life. So one of the tips I will tell you, what they started to do was they really started to meditate. They started to spend time in nature. They started to put their cell phones away and to really pay attention to their feelings. Yes, I am in my feminine energy. They started to listen to their heart. They started to connect in a deeper way to their wives and their clients. And they started to listen more and they started to utilize their intuition more. And that put them into a place where they could bring in their feminine energy and have it be there, but they were still operating, of course, from their masculine male energy. And so I've mentored a lot of men over the years who found this balance and flow, and their lives are flourishing because they are in balance. And so many times, what happens, I always get negative. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, maybe that just means you have to be in your confident self then, and just not really care about what other people think or what they say. I don't know if that's what's happening for you. How do you achieve that energy? Well, if you want to get into a balance, you have to know how to tap in, if you're a man, to your feminine energy, and if you're a woman and you want to be goal oriented and you want to go after things and you really want to be like focus, that's your masculine energy. You have to study this stuff, you all. I mean, we have the power of the internet at our hands. We can go look up anything. You could today go look, and actually, I probably have some videos. I have a lot of videos. Go and look and see if I've got a video about balancing your masculine and feminine energy. Because for me, it's been 16 years of practice. I didn't do this overnight. It's 16 years of studying spirituality and energy. And I went to things like the singing bowls. I have been to many types of energy healing. I'm a Reiki and a Karuna, a Sui. I'm an angelic. I am a holy fire Reiki master teacher. I have done all of this energy healing. I'm a priestess. I have studied for over 2 years. I studied priestess information. So I've done a lot of things out of the box to get myself where I am. It's not an overnight thing. It's a practice. But you all, we don't come here to just live in this external world. We come to know thyself. We come to learn who we are and to know thyself. That's why we're here first and foremost. But so many of us just get so caught up in the outside world that we don't pay attention to what we're really meant to learn. So let me go back really quick. If you want to learn, if you are a woman over 40, and you want to learn about my Find Your Fire program, the link will be in the description. I do offer a free meditation. And so I will put the link to the free meditation. It's called Burn Away the Old to Ignite the New. And anybody can do that meditation. And it's all about setting up a goal for yourself and walking over the fire, over the hot coals, because I am a fire walk instructor. I have I've walked over hot coals many, many, many times because I wanted to challenge myself and I wanted to release my ego, any fear that I had. And that's why I did it. And that's why I continue to do it. And like I said, I was going to say yesterday, I did a presentation about walking on broken glass, walking on shards of glass, because when we walk on glass, we learn about focus and attention. And this is what I teach in my presentations. But you all have the power to make changes and shifts in your life. You have to set a desire, and you then have to listen to your intuition, and then you have to take action. That's really what it is. It's setting a desire or a goal, listening to your intuition, and then taking action. It's really not that hard when you write it like that, when you think about it like that, but it's of course learning to listen to the inner voice. And you have to get still, and you have to push away the noise, stop watching the news, start paying attention to people who are positive, who feed you, who do not take away from you. And so these are all the things that I do all the time. And so if you're not doing any of those, maybe you want to start there. But I'm so glad that you were here with me today. I see you. I honor you. I believe in your power. I know you have a lot to offer the world. And it starts with you. And especially when caregiving elderly parents and watching them, get ill and pass away, you got to take care of yourself. You've got to take care of yourself first. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And that's not selfish, you all. A lot of times, what I thought that if I put the oxygen mask on myself, or I took care of me, or did what I wanted to do to nurture myself, that people would say, oh, you're selfish. You're such a selfish person, because that's how women are raised, that we're always supposed to be the giver, the giver, the giver, the giver. But you know what? That depletes us, and that would also make us probably sick. And so I learned I have to take care of me first. And then I can take care of everybody else, because I'm a much happier, fulfilling, full cup person when I fill my cup first. And then I will give to other people. It's something you got to learn. It's something. And you know what? Another thing I do, I read a lot of really interesting, good, fill me up kind of books. I don't read junk books. I read usually books, if I can tap it. Okay. If I want to read something to fill me up, I read something like, what is one of the books? Mary Magdalene is somebody I really love. So I read books about that. I read books about The Artist's Way is another one that I've read. I've read Think and Grow Rich. I've read Zig Ziglar. I've read lots of priestess books. I mean, I read stuff that is going to challenge me to think differently, think out of the box, raise my consciousness. I want to raise my consciousness, because when I raise my consciousness, I raise your consciousness, and I raise everybody else's consciousness who comes in to my environment. And so that's what I do, you all. That's how I am able to caregive my elderly parents, even when they trigger me. And even when I know I have lessons to learn, is that my cup is full. And I also am always working on myself to be the best version of me. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for being here. I'm so grateful. Thank you for all the hearts that you gave me today. I come on my YouTube lives, and I couldn't do it again on my computer. I come on my YouTube lives every Wednesday at 12:30 Central Standard Time. So next week, I've already got my live planned. And so I will be giving you information, and I will be giving you tools and thoughts and all that stuff, because that's what I do. That's what I love to do. I love to inspire other people. I love to get people to change what their perception is about something. I love to see people transform. It's my favorite thing to do in the world. So I hope you all have a super duper fantastic, wonderful, amazing day wherever you are in the world. And I can't wait to connect with you again on the next live.